Okay, let's call to order March 1st meeting, town meeting.
Here.
Here.
Hader. Here. Morrison.
Here?
Shannon.
Here.
Morris.
Here.
Schneider.
Here.
Pasanello.
Here.
Okay, let's pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. While Chris is getting that set up, we'll start off with the invocation. If you could, Emily, if you could announce who's going to be doing our invocation tonight.
Yes, tonight we have Pastor Mark Brady from Park Valley Church joining us. And we'll get you a mic in just a second.
Oh, I am woefully unprepared.
Is Danica going to show up? Is she going to be?
Zoom, she's going to come on via Zoom.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you again. It is always an honor and privilege to be able to come and be here. And my name is Mark, and one of the pastors of Park Valley Church. And Judy and I live in Dominion Valley. We've been here for 20 years, and we love our community. And we love our community, and we love the sacrifice that you are making in making our community a better place. And I just want you to know that anything that you need from us as a church, we want to be that community church for you. We want to be a refuge for the people that are hurting. We want to be a place where people can be encouraged and loved. And for some reason, God has shown favor to Park Valley Church.
Pardon me 1 second. Joe cannot hear.
We got.
You got it now, Joe?
Chief has got
Okay.
it.
Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. And we're just trying to introduce people to the gospel each week, and we're trying to love them towards the gospel, and that is it. And it's just an honor. I just love our town, and I love being a part of it. And I was just thinking about in the Gospels, and Mark, it talks about, for even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but he came to serve. So the position that you have as our council, as servant leaders, is amazing. So thank you for your service, because you are making an impact. And the integrity that you display, the love that you display to our community, it goes a long, long ways. So I would just say that we pray for you guys as a church. We love you, and anything that you need from us, let us know. So thank you for being here, and let's pray. God, I thank you for your love for us. I am just so humbled to be here, Lord. I'm thankful for this community. I'm thankful for this group of people that truly just love our community, and they just want to do the best. So give them wisdom, Lord. Show up in a big way in their lives. I pray a blessing upon their families. I pray for everyone in this room that's sacrificing their time tonight, Lord, that you would give that back to them. And because of their sacrifice, we as a community, we benefit. We thank you for that. And so, Lord, watch over us in 2021. We thank you what you've done. In 2020, it was still great. We were still making an impact in our community. And we thank you for that opportunity. That we have an opportunity to serve. And it's the greatest humble position to be in. So we thank you for that. And so, Lord, we love you, we thank you, and we give you all the praise in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
And to follow this invocation, I would like to take a moment of silence for the fallen officers in the past week. We've had a very disastrous week. We've had Captain Donald Lambert Jr. of Henrico County struck and hit by a hit-and-run driver. And Officer Dominic Nick J. Winham, town of Stanley, shot during the traffic stop And I thought I had a third person.
I think that's it.
I think that's it.
That's nice.
So if we could have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. I wish their families well. Okay, we'll move on. Is Danica online? Okay, if we could move to Delegate Rome's presentation.
Delegate Rome, I have allowed you to be able to share your screen. Oh, hold on. Okay. Okay, can you try again?
Yeah, can you hear me okay? I've clicked the screen share.
Yes. Yep, we can see it and we can hear you.
All right, great. Well, first, to Mayor Larson, to the council members, thank you so much for inviting me back today. I was happy to brief you all right before session started, I believe back in January, about basically, the things that I was going to be presenting and, issues that were coming up in the General Assembly. And now that we have officially adjourned sine die today, I'm happy to offer this presentation. So without further ado, I'll just kind of jump right out into it. So first off, the big one for you all here is what I have affectionately referred to as Joe's Law. Joe's Law, after Councilmember Joe Passanello, came about because some of the Prince William County attorneys, specifically the county attorney, told Joe Passanello and told the town of Haymarket that there was some ambivalence within the code about whether or not elected town council and elected mayors could actually serve on their county's Board of Zoning Appeals. Because the code explicitly prohibits elected officials from serving on the BZA. Well, one of the things that we know is that a town's BZA is inherently different from a county BZA, and that because you have a town BZA in the first place, you're not going to really have that conflict of interest at the county level. And even if you did, you could always just abstain. So what I did was I introduced HB 1898, and this does exactly what we just described. And this was through the combination of work from Councilmember Weir and Councilmember Passanello here, who worked with me on this. And fortunately for Councilmember Weir, the text of the bill will look really familiar because it's exactly as submitted. And what this does is it allows elected town council members and elected town mayors to serve on their county BZAs. This passed out of the House of Delegates 96-4. I don't know, I don't remember who the 4 members are who hate town council members, but apparently there's a few. And it passed out of the Senate 37-2. Again, not quite sure why they don't like town council members among those 2, but hey, that's okay. I respect everyone, right? And on this, what was really fascinating was you have a really interesting case of a Republican county supervisor in Pete Ganlon trying to appoint a Democratic town council member in Joe Passanello to a board. And I figured that cross-party appeal should be relatively helpful, and Councilmember Passanello was able to testify for this bill both in the House and the Senate, and did well. We also collaborated with the Virginia Municipal League and VACO, the Virginia Association of Counties, on the bill as well. And we had support within the county from letters, both from Supervisor Canlon as well as Chair Wheeler. So, yeah, so we did great. It passed overwhelmingly and is now headed to the governor's desk for signature. So, go Town of Haymarket, yay. Let's go on to the next one. Next one that could potentially affect Haymarket if you, more than you might expect if we are to, if you all decide that you're going to have that Western DMV office, like that DMV to go office in Town Hall or in Town of Haymarket. I know there's been no decision made on that, but it's something that's up for discussion right now. This could very well affect you. So what HB 1828 does is it says basically that during declared states of emergency, the commissioner of the DMV more or less has certain extra powers to, extend renewal deadlines, increase flexibility, for people who are trying to access their DMV services. and it goes beyond 90 days, or goes up to 90 days after the state of emergency has been declared in this. So this was language that we actually passed last year in the special session during our budget, when we were dealing with the budget, and this just codifies it permanently. So again, this bill did really well. We got out of bipartisan support, and and our DMV Commissioner Holcomb actually testified for the bill as well. So this was an agency bill. It was requested by the DMV. At the same time, I will tell all y'all listening to this that the top two issues we dealt with in this last year at my office for constituent service stuff is number one was unemployment, and number two was DMV. I mean, it wasn't even close. Number three, everything else, just giant drop off. It was unemployment claims where people needed help, and Danica, I can't get the DMV to answer my claim, or I can't get into the system or something, please help. And fortunately, we have a direct line with the commish and his staff, so we were able to resolve a ton of constituent casework. But at the same time, this bill will prevent a lot of those problems from happening in the first place in the future. And that's what we really want. We want to prevent the problem so that I can just give you super boring legislation and you not care about it because it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. All right, so next one that in theory could affect Haymarket, but you all don't have an immediate issue with this. So HB 2318, this is an interesting case here. So this came to me from the city of Manassas Park, which I also represent. I represent the city of Manassas Park, as well as Town of Haymarket, Gainesville, and the county part of Manassas. So what happened here is the city of Manassas Park wanted to be able to restrict test drives from going into particular residential neighborhoods because you had a lot of people who were speeding, blowing stop signs, blowing stoplight, just all the sort of basic stuff. And they're trying to cut down on the people with the dealer tags who are doing it, right? Because off of Manassas Drive, you actually have an auto dealer who I actually bought my 99 Nissan Sentra from in 2006, so fun fact. And they were just really trying to keep the test drives either on Euclid or heading toward Route 28, taking Manassas Drive that way, as opposed to going into Loops Crossing. Now, by passing this bill, what we've essentially done is we allow localities, municipalities, to be able to designate residential areas, within their jurisdictions where they don't want test drives to go. This will not result in more people who are conducting test drives or people with dealer tags from getting pulled over. You have to commit a other traffic infraction for this to apply. So I want to make that really crystal clear here that this is not going to result in more profiling. It's not going to result in Chief Lance, getting extra busy here. This is what we are really, really trying to do here. Is we are trying to, as lightly, with as gentle touch as possible, tell people, please don't go in these areas where, a lot of people live, where kids are playing and all this other stuff. You've got all these other plenty room to go there. So what happens here basically is that if someone commits a traffic infraction and they have the dealer tag and they're pulled over, what will happen then is that information will go back to police, and they will be able to check basically about whether or not the dealer, in this case, told their client whether or not they could go into that residential area. And if they did, okay, great, then there's no fault. But if they didn't, then the Motor Vehicle Board could, and this is a may as opposed to a shall, say that they're in violation of that particular part of code and then issue whatever requisite penalty they so choose. I only mention that because if you all end up having car dealerships in and around Haymarket, and God knows the way that the county goes sometimes, is they build a lot of stuff that you all didn't sign off on. And that's a pre-existing problem that goes back a long time. Hence why you all have the 1 mile rule that I remember oh so well from when I was covering the town of Haymarket as a reporter. But if a car dealership ends up going up somewhere near Haymarket, you would all have this authority to be able to prohibit test drives in whatever residential neighborhoods you so chose. While at the same time, if they want to go along Washington Street, if they want to go down Jefferson, that's fine. But if they want to go on to St. Paul's, if they want to go into, Longstreet Commons or something, you would be able to restrict that. So next one, we are going to move on. Oh, by the way, the funny thing with that last bill, of my 23 House bills that have passed the General Assembly in my time in office, this is the only one that passed one of the chambers on a partisan vote. My other 22 have had bipartisan support in the House and Senate. For some reason, the Republicans in the Senate hated this bill. In the House, it was fine. Senate, I just, things catch a fever for weird reasons sometimes. Moving on. So next up, we have HB 2135. This is one of my marquee bills of the year. This is a really, really good bill. This bill basically says that right now in Virginia, it's about 30% are eligible schools that can participate in the federal after-school meals program are participating right now. This means more than 600 schools that are eligible aren't. This is federally funded after-school meals to make sure that kids are getting fed at the end of the day. And so that this also requires that you have to have that, basically, you've got to have that community enrichment program after school so that, whether it's a sports game, whether it's, kids staying after for various clubs, studying, community, whatever it is, this makes sure that when students are staying after school in these high need areas, that are actually going to have a meal available to them. And I'll tell you all, I remember when I was at the Prince William Times and the Gainesville Times, I did a story at Osborne High School in the city of Manassas. And I talked to this one teacher who would keep food in her desk in her office. And she would tell me about how she had this one student who she spotted and she figured that the kid was hungry one day. And she got, she gave this kid some food. He started lightening up, talking to her. She was finding out that this kid was going home and he wasn't getting fed that night. Or he was getting like ramen. He wasn't getting, actually nutritious meals and stuff. This is really designed to make sure that when your kid, when the school day ends and you're in a high need area, that if your kid's staying after school, they're going to have some food. It's going to be guaranteed to them. And, I'm really proud of this bill because this is going to feed a lot of kids. We were also able to take some existing precedent from what we've done in Prince William County. Adam Russo, who's the Prince William County Schools Nutrition Director, he's done incredible work with this. A lot of our schools are online. A few more still qualify. Now, Battlefield's not going to qualify. Reagan's not going to qualify. Basically, you don't have enough people who are on free and reduced meals there. But for a lot of the rest of the county, this is going to be really helpful. So I'm really proud of that bill. The people who are complaining about it, they only complain about it because we have elected school boards for a reason. You all shouldn't be telling us to, sign up for these optional federal programs. They exist. You're not doing it, and you're not doing it because you don't like to do the paperwork and the administrative work to get it done. This says you have to do the paperwork and the administrative work to get it done. Go get it done. That's it. And where Councilmember Passanello is from and where my mother is from, you don't put up with that. So more or less, you're just like, go do your job, go get it done, and let's not make a thing of it. Okay. So next one. HB 2132, this one is a personal one, but it's also a constituent service request that came from a 15-year-old constituent of mine last summer who sent me an email asking me to put in a bill to ban what's called the gay and trans panic defense. This is a kid who's out, who, is a high school student at Vanessa Park High School and wants to feel safe. And I remember being 14 years old in 1998, in that October, when Matthew Shepard was killed and brutally murdered. I talked to you all about this the last time I was on, but, so I'll spare you the emotion part of this, but suffice it to say, Matthew's mother, Judy Shepard, testified for this bill, both in the House and in the Senate when it came up. And you'll note that even the people who were voting against the bill, they didn't say a word in committee about it. Because how are you supposed to refute Judy Shepard? How are you supposed to tell her she's wrong? You don't. So this was a good bill. This basically says that someone's sexual orientation, gender identity, gender or sex in and of itself, or with combination of what's called oral solicitation, just asking someone out, is not a reason nor an excuse nor the exoneration for murdering or assaulting someone. And this has been used in Virginia time and time again. We presented 8 different cases, and we documented a 9th case, by the way. And that was just what we could get before we went into committee. It's probably been used countless other times. But, getting this done, this was good. This was a really good one for Virginia, and I'm really proud of that bill. Next one. This is one that got a lot of headlines. I'm pretty proud of this one, too. So we don't have this problem in Prince William County. I had to put this bill in because we don't have this problem, and other people shouldn't have this problem either. This is a bill that says you can't sue parents or sue students for carrying school meal debt. That's right. I will, in the spirit of not shaming, I will not identify the county in this in this particular case. Suffice it to say, there was a county in Virginia that put up on its Facebook site that they were going to start suing parents for unpaid school meal debt. And my team found out that there are 27 different school systems throughout Virginia that actually have this policy on the books. We said, that's terrible. That is horrible. And here's the worst part. That county, their schools actually qualified for the community eligibility provision in the first place, which is the federal program that fully funds, free meals for all students, not just free and reduced students, but for everyone in the school system or at a particular school. They had CEP eligible schools, and they were threatening to sue parents all because they never did the paperwork to sign up for CEP in the first place. That's ridiculous. It is cruelty. That is horrible. So we put in this bill that says you can't do that. And look, if you have a school meal lunch debt thing, first off, school meal debt shouldn't exist, period. But if it is to exist, you shouldn't be suing parents over it. This should be dealt with inside the school system. It should be dealt as a disciplinary issue. Or the other way that you could also put it is this should be dealt with as a cry for help, not as punishment where you're dragging them into a general district court to get a judgment against them. Councilmember Weir?
Turn this silly speaker on. Delegate, I'm just kind of curious, because, when you were looking at the jurisdictions that were bringing these lawsuits, and I'm afraid I knew the answer, were they bright enough to understand that they weren't going to collect on many of these and they were simply digging their fiscal hole deeper?
Not aware that their attorney's fees were going to actually be more than what they were going to get back from the parents.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we have a lot of special flowers in Virginia, Bob.
All right.
That's all I will say. So, moving on. Last thing I want to also highlight here, by the way, for y'all, before I get into anything else. We had, I think it was HB 2000. So this one, we talked about this back in January when I presented, and this exactly what we thought was going to happen happened with this. So this is my bill that would eliminate FOIA fees for the first 2 hours it takes to process a FOIA request, and to cap it at $33 an hour afterward. Now, this bill, obviously, VML and VACO were going to be opposed the whole time. So we designed it in a way where it was going to have to go to the FOIA Advisory Council. That's exactly what's happened. The bill's been referred. And later this year, we'll have advocates from the Virginia Coalition for Open Government, from VML, from VACO, whichever side of the issue that you're on, come down together, sit at the virtual table or wherever, and hash this out to reform our FOIA fee system. Because, as Councilmember Weir will tell you, as my constituent from Manassas, Stephanie Miner, will tell you, the fees that are being charged are not to cover costs. They are done as a deterrent to keep you from public documents that your tax dollars paid for. And not everyone can afford $8,000 to watch a minute of video. This happened to Stephanie, to my constituent Manassas. It's horrible. So I've been fighting this since I was a reporter. We're going to come back in 2022 with whatever recommendation we actually get from the FOIA Advisory Council. And, I hope we can get this done next year, because this is too important. This is an open government issue. It's a transparency issue. It's a constituent service issue. And this is about making sure that the people are able to hold their government accountable. That's what this comes down to. My office has filled a number of FOIA requests. We don't charge a dime for any of it. And I know all y'all in the Haymarket Town Council are very familiar with FOIA requests. Y'all shouldn't be charging much either. You know what I'm saying? So that's where this comes down to. Moving on. So other stuff to highlight here, obviously, COVID-19 relief. You're going to note, especially with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine now being approved, that we're going to exponentially be able to start increasing the number of injections given every day. But here's the thing. If you don't have people, if you don't have manpower in this case, how are you supposed to do it, right? So what we did is we passed HB 1963, had an emergency clause, so the governor is able to sign it immediately, and it goes into law immediately. This means that like dentists, and other physicians, just basically anyone who's got a medical background whatsoever is going to be able to administer these. And that's what we really want done with this, is as many vaccines to be distributed and expedited as quickly as possible by people who can safely administer them as quickly as possible. The training is not hard. So that's a very, very important bill that we got done. Another one deals with workers' comp for people who've actually, contracted, COVID-19 in their, basically in their workplace. And we also have one that you'll see from Delegate Halayala here that deals with outdoor refreshment. So it allows Virginians to drink alcohol beverages outside. This basically it's a bone that we're throwing for the Giuseppes of the world, for just your local businesses that are trying to make it through COVID. And this just makes it a little bit easier for these restaurants to survive. We've got these tax relief laws. I know Councilmember Weir was very interested, especially in the tax conformity issue, which he told me, and I assure you, only the most polite terms possible, that it was very, very professional and nice. That's who Councilmember Weir is to the very core of his being, a super polite individual, and who very kindly asked me about when that bill would go into effect. And, well, it's now. And you'll notice that it also comes with the bill allows for up to $100,000 in PPP loans to basically just be forgiven, and up to $100,000 grant funds received under the Rebuild Virginia program to be subtracted from taxable income. This is good. This is a big deal for a lot of businesses, and especially our CPAs. We really just want a lot of certainty coming to tax season. Okay, other stuff here. As I told you before, we deal a lot with unemployment. That was a huge issue from last year. So this issue from this bill from Delegate Sally Hudson, HB 2040, what this basically does is this makes the VCs waive obligation to repay an overtime or an overpayment of benefits if the overpayment was made through no fault of the claimant and they can show economic need. Sorry, I'll just kind of jump around here a little bit more. We obviously dealt with a number of things of K-12. I was actually a chief co-patron on HB 2027 from Delegate Conyers, so we worked across the aisle on this one. This is good. Right now, the SOLs, if you were to have SOL tests right now, kids are going to flunk them left and right, because that's just been the nature of how online learning has gone for a lot of kids. It's been hard. And so what this does is takes it off the pressure. This takes that pressure off of the super high stakes test, spaces it out a little bit more with a lot lower tests so that you're dealing with assessments rather than that standardized tests that we're really used to at the end of the year. So this way it allows you to basically, see the kids' growth throughout the school year rather than punish them for simply having a tough year. Because look, it's been tough, and I think all of us recognize that, especially any of us who have kids who've had to deal with online learning. It's been really hard. So we've got stuff from drug prices, disability rights, the data privacy at the bottom there. I worked on that when I was in the Communications Technology Innovation Committee. So basically, this is the first time that Virginia is really dealing with data privacy, and it's doing it in a big way, where we looked a lot of what California is doing, for example. And basically right now, California set the standard for the entire rest of the country, because for a lot of these online corporations and such that want to be able to have their services used in California, they have to play by their field rights, by their rules. And so that means that they also have to care about, so basically if we take what they're doing and we build it upon that example to make, this our own, then we can start not just having to rely on the good graces of the California legislature, but on what we want to do here in Virginia. So this is a good bill. I'm really glad that we managed to get this one out. All right, and I'll skip ahead a little bit here. We'll go into the budget. We already talked about the PPP loans. We talked about VC. And, right. So state employees and K-12, you'll notice we did the 5% teacher pay raise. Now, this obviously means that the counties are going to have to match what it is that we're doing for the state. That's how this formula works. This is no different. But what we're also doing is this goes for any state employees. So this, whether it's police, whether it's other, whether it's, DMV officials, whoever it is, state employees, 5% pay raise, that's a really big deal for us right now. So that's great. I don't remember the last time we had a across-the-board pay raise like that. And next, in the constituent service part here, if anyone has questions, but they need help, especially in terms of getting their vaccine, we got a couple numbers up here right now. Please call either the Virginia Department of Health Vaccine Call Center, call Prince William Health Center, or drop me a line in my office as well. It's del.drome@house.virginia.gov. Always happy to help out however we can. We're just standard disclosure, because I'm not a medical healthcare professional. I can't tell you all the things in the world about how vaccine programs being, affected. What I can tell you is at least what we can do about the waiting list and how we can make sure that when you're signed up, that you get your shots when, basically when it's your turn. So with that, aside from that, moving forward here, we're going to continue working on government transparency issues. Obviously, it's something that I care a lot about just from my reporter days. We're going to continue making sure that we are working directly with all three of the municipalities/localities that I represent between the town of Haymarket, City of Manassas Park, and Prince William County. And we're going to keep putting in these bills that help you out. Because look, now I completed my fourth session in office now. We've got 23 bills passed, and that I expect all 6 of them this year to be signed into law. 23 bills to be signed into law in 4 years is great, and it's actually this is really cool. Last year, we actually set a record for most number of House bills passed by the delegate of the 13th district, since the 13th district was drawn into Northern Virginia in 1991. So, I'm really proud of that. 20 bills in the last 2 years. You all are the ones asking me to put these forward. I've worked at the town of Haymarket before on legislation, especially one that we got done in 2019. I know Councilmember Weir remembers very well. I'm really proud of the work that we've done. We've done a lot to help out a lot of people here. So with that, here's my contact. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Bob, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm going to beat this horse a little bit more, Danica. And I'll try to be polite about it. This is the second year in a row where we don't have income tax conformity, and I'm assuming that's not going to get done prior to the filing deadline. Is there any chance that this is going to get fixed before the end of the next session? And I suspect it has a significant impact on the residents in this area, largely as a result of reduced mortgage payments as a result of refining at lower rates. I mean, the governor's sitting on a huge windfall last year and this year as a result of the General Assembly's failure to address this. And I'd just like to think that somebody's going to address it at some point in the near future.
So, Mayor Larson and Councilmember Weir, I'm going to pull up here on my screen. So Delegate Watts is the one who actually had that bill in the first place, and you'll see that, the bill by design is meant to deal with, income tax conformity, right? So here's the final version of this. I'm going to highlight, and you can see basically what passed this year for taxable years beginning on or after 2019. For taxable years 2019, the 7.5% of federal adjusted gross income threshold set forth in IRS code has used purpose of computing the deduction allowing for expensive medical care pursuant to 213 of the IRS code. For such taxable years, a threshold utilized for Virginia income tax purposes to compute to the deduction allowed for expenses for medical care pursuant to 213 of the IRS code shall be 10% of the federal adjusted gross income. You can also see sections 7, 8, 9, 10 here. So we were dealing directly with dealing directly with income tax. And section 30 here for taxable years beginning on or after January 1st, 2020, before 2021, up to $100,000 of all grant funds received by a taxpayer under the Rebuild Virginia program established by the governor, administered by the Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity. And then we've got just a couple other sections here as well. So I like to think that, yes, we did address this, but at the same time, I think there's a larger, more systemic issue that you're really trying to get at here. And that larger systemic issue here is, why is it that every single year that we get into the General Assembly, we have to have this fight that we know as responsible governing professionals, we're supposed to have this resolved basically the day we go in. Because some people will actually file their taxes in January. And yet, every single year, it takes until February or March before we actually deal with this, because we have whatever stupid fights we have in the General Assembly over this. I'm not a member of the Finance Committee, and I'm not on the conference committee that deals with this. At the same time, I will tell you, I have never voted against a conformity bill in the 4 sessions I've been down there, even when I've had a break with my own party or I've had to call out the other party in order to do it. We need to stop, as a General Assembly, making every CPA in Virginia freak out, making every business owner freak out, and every other person who files their taxes freak out, because they don't know what it is that we're going to get done on a timely basis. And this is a bipartisan problem. It happened when the Republicans are in charge. It happened when the Democrats are in charge. We have got to stop playing games with conformity and get it done immediately from the get-go.
You have a question, Joe?
Councilman Passanello, I saw your hand up.
Hey, thank you, Delegate Rome, for the presentation.
Of course.
And super information. I just wanted to pick your brain for a second on SB 1157. I noticed that it passed the Senate and the House.
Yeah, let me pull it up right now. Hold on one second.
And what's the likelihood that the governor signs that and then we end up moving?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, the governor's going to sign it. I mean, it's not that he's put out a statement on it. It's just, yeah, he's going to sign it. It's just, it's a given. I hated this bill. I really, really did. And you'll notice at the very bottom there where it says Delegate Rome was recorded as not voting, intended to vote nay. I'm going to bring you all into the behind the scenes of what happens here, basically, right? So a lot of my bills were still in the state Senate at the time that this bill was coming to the House floor. You will notice, this is very interesting, that they put this bill in the Senate through the local government committee where it passed 12-3. But when it went to the House, it went to the Privileges and Elections Committee where it passed 13-9. Now I ask y'all, why wouldn't it have gone through the House equivalent of local government, which is called County, Cities, and Towns Committee? Why not? Because if it did, it would have gone through my charter subcommittee, the one I chair. If it had gone through my charter subcommittee, where we have 5 Democrats and 3 Republicans, I would have, without question, broken ranks with my party, voted with the 3 Republicans, and we would have killed this. They knew that. They knew that going in. So what did they do? They sent it to a different committee where it was going to pass, because the chair of that committee, Delegate Simon, very much supported this. And Delegate Simon, just respectfully disagreed on the bill. We really talked about the merits of the legislation up and down, and we did not make that political. At the same time, I had a number of bills that were in the Senate at the time this thing was going to the House floor. And if you learn anything about how Richmond works, it is that the Senate will hold your bills hostage until certain members get what it is that they want. In this case, because it looked like it might be a close vote, the deal that I made on this was I said, look, you're not going to get me to yes on this bill. You're not. I'm going to oppose this bill. Here's what I'm willing to do. I will hold off the board on this until we see what direction this is going in. And if it comes down to it, if it's 50-50, if it's right there, I'm going to vote no. And if I have to kill, I will. But if I don't have to go up on the board for it in order to affect the outcome, when the outcome is already going to be decided with or without my vote, as you can see, it was a 6-vote margin in this, then I'll stay off the board, but I'm going to record a gray sheet. I'm going to say no on this because I don't like the bill. My constituents don't like the bill. The town doesn't like the bill. At the same time, so now I got to get my bills passed, right? So we watched it very, very, very closely, saw what happened, and, well, I filed my gray sheet and went in as a no, and all 6 of my bills that made it to the Senate passed. This is how Richmond works sometimes. So how will this, well, let's actually open up the bill, and I will show you all how it affects the town. So you'll see, notwithstanding the provisions of blah, 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 any city or town charter or any other provision of law, general or special, beginning with any election held after January 1st, 2022. So this does not affect your current term. It will, however, affect the 2022 elections that you'll have next year, though. Elections for mayor, members of the local governing body, or members of any elected school board shall be held at the time of the November general election for terms to commence January 1st. This basically means all y'all just got an extra 6 months added to your terms. And for some of you, that means that I wish for your sanity. I wish for it to go well. I wish for the best for your mental health. But I personally do not think that the Virginia General Assembly should be arbitrarily extending the length of members' terms. I think that's a really bad precedent that we set here. I think it's a complete violation of the town charters. And my job as the charter subcommittee chair is to, protect the integrity of these charters. I feel that the General Assembly did not do that by passing this bill, but at the same time, on the larger question of whether or not they had the authority to do it, the answer was yes. Last year, I fought bitterly when they wanted to do this through the budget. I vehemently disagreed that the budget was the right vehicle for them to do that. And I mean, I threw a fit. I broke with my party. I think I was either one of two Democrats who voted no on it. Without me blowing a fuse here, suffice it to say, I vehemently disagreed. But then they just killed it in the Senate anyway, so it's not like a big difference. But this time around, the question was not whether they had the authority. The question is, should we do it or should we not? I disagreed. I didn't think we should do it. But this does mean y'all are going to have to update your charter, though. And on the one hand, I'm going to tell y'all this, you will be saving money because of this bill. That is a fact. And as I've talked to some of y'all about this before, I actually agree that town elections should be in November. I do not agree with the vehicle that we chose to do this, which was with the hammer of the state code. It should have been because you all sent us that charter change request, and I actually took care of it for you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Delegate Rome, for your information. It was very important.
Council members, thank you so much for having me back to talk with y'all again, and especially, I really hope that y'all are staying safe and everything's going well for y'all. And thanks again. Y'all have my contact information. Please feel free to reach out anytime. And I know I didn't hear from everyone, so Council Member Shannon, Morris, and Vice Mayor Peter, it's wonderful to see y'all as well. So please take care.
Okay, next agenda item, we have the citizen input on the DMV Select Office. Are there any updates for that?
No updates. There have just been a couple people that filled out different things on the Survey Monkey, which I was able to just reach out to them and give them some clarifying information, which they're appreciative of. But other than that, I don't have any updates.
So we'll move on to citizens' time. Emily, how do you want to present this?
I will, I have one email that I'd like to read into the record. It was sent to Kim this afternoon, so I'll start. Ms. Henry, please read the entire body of this email below. Thank you. Council, my name is Ken Lorson, 6752 Jefferson Street. I saw your agenda packet and noticed the town engineer report noting results to the town of Haymarket's Jefferson Street tributary of town stormwater management system assessment. The engineer infers in her notes that the 5 homes of the tributary crosses through above ground is responsible for this, quote, above ground, end quote, system, as referenced in the easement clause in the site plan. I am confused. Why would 5 homeowners be responsible for a major leg of the town's stormwater management system? Does the town seriously believe that the homeowners should be responsible for a system that costs more than the real estate value of their home? This makes no sense. I was made aware of the town's belief that I was partial owner 20 years ago when I wanted to level my yard and pipe the system under the leveled dirt. I argued the silliness of it then. At that time, it was not a major concern since the system was new and the cost for repair and replacement was not an issue yet. Now that the system is showing signs of failure, a major financial impact is over the horizon waiting to appear. So ownership confusion needs to be resolved. In my opinion, this should be owned by Prince William County since our taxes pay for the Department of Public Works / Environmental Services Division / Watershed Management Branch, and that our town is small enough to levy infrastructure services on the county. Please direct the town to work with the county and the homeowners to figure out who owns and is responsible for this system. Thank you, Ken Lorson, 6752 Jefferson Street. And that's the only citizen comment via email.
Okay, I'll follow it up with other citizens' comments. Who would like to start?
Hi, I'm Valerie Boykin. I'm at 6758 Jefferson Street. I've never done anything like this before, and I'm really super nervous. We've noticed that there is a lot of erosion going on, especially in between my house and Ken's house, where the sewer pipe comes out of the ground and the water just swings around it, and it's like a huge cutout. And it's just if it was just the storm water from our houses, it wouldn't be falling apart as quickly. So it's kind of being exacerbated by all the extra everything that's coming in. And we've maintained it, we've cleaned it, we've tried to make it so that there's more of a wall along the erosion side, so it isn't happening as bad. But it's way too much for just a few people to take care of, when it's a benefit to the whole town and the whole rest of the street. It's only 5 of us, and it's water that comes from Fayette as well, and the town. And so help, some way to maybe, figure out how to work together or something, just to, so it's not just on a few of us for something that's benefiting so many other people.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Soto, my wife Nydia. We also live in Jefferson. We just moved into 6764. Obviously, we weren't aware of this until this big rain pour came through, and then we spoke to Valerie. We noticed that there is a big-time erosion, pretty much part of our property. The previous owners have put some big rocks and boulders that kind of, I guess, keep it from eroding, but even the rocks are rolling from so much water coming through. So just to give you an example how much water we're talking about. It's big-time erosion from how it's dented, it's both sides that's kind of caving in. Just the lawn itself is also being affected by this erosion, so. if you want
Yeah, I'm also wanting
Speak more in the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Make sure everybody hears. Thank you.
So, what I wanted to add is also that there's so much water coming through that it's almost like having a creek in my backyard. And right now, it's taking, away about a third of my property, And I'm really concerned also because if there was anything that we wanted to do with the resources that we have to try to alleviate, the situation just for our home, we wouldn't be able to do it because there's just a lot of water coming through. And unless everybody, pulls together and does something about it, we wouldn't even be able to do anything inside, our backyard, our property. So like Valerie said, anything that that you guys can do to help alleviate the situation would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Asad Mirza. We moved here in Haymarket Town in 2016, and small family, we like this place too much actually. Me and my kids, we all love this area, and this is the first time I came here to attend this meeting. So basically, in 2017 or 2018, whatever they're describing it, I think there was a very heavy rain or flood came. And I made that video. If I ever try to pull up from my data source, it was really a flood kind of a thing. It's almost 5 to 6 feet. And it broke the Eric's fence. It crossed the next neighbor fence. The water flood over it because the drainage line was is not capable to hold all that water that was coming from the Fayette Street. And it's not only from the one place, it's coming, I think 3 or 4 places it is coming. And this all water is coming from the Fayette Street. It's not from the Jefferson Street. And that day, I thought it's okay, but it was not okay because 5 to 6 feet, it was life-threatening for the kids, especially because you never know, kids can go outside. And it was, I will try to share you that video, but it was horrible at that time. And I think we should take something action on this item to be more productive, because the next neighborhood property was damaged. They left their house, they sold it, somebody else came. So I think I have no other issues in this town. It's very nice, cool, calm. I love all this place, but this is the only issue I see. Especially I have small kids, like 2.5 years and 7 years. They love to play in the backyard. So I'm just a little bit worried because sometimes the water flood comes very fast.
Could you give your address, sir?
Sorry?
Your address?
Yes?
Your address, where you live?
Oh, yes, I live in 6770 Jefferson Street here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any more town comments? Citizen? This is citizens' time.
You missed DMV Select.
What's that?
He's asking about DMV Select. Did he miss it?
Yeah. I don't care. Go ahead and do it now.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to include something for DMV Select, it's all citizens' time, so.
Jim Payne, 6680 Fayette Street, Dogs Day Out. I'm just here to talk about DMV Select. I've been talking to Chris a bunch, not because I'm against DMV Select. I just wanted to make sure, in my mind, that's going to benefit the town. I know it's basically it's 4.5% or 5%, so the DMV is getting 95 cents out of every dollar. So in order for the town to make money, there's a lot of dollars that have to go through. Way I figure like $22,000 a week in order to cover the FTE cost or somewhere like that. But Chris has done the research and the numbers come up that the town's making money. And as a business owner, I'm all for having the town have another revenue stream besides taxes, B-poll, fines from police. And if the numbers come out that the town's going to make money and without too much disturbance, I'm for it. I just was questioning just because I, as a taxpayer, pay a lot of taxes here to Haymarket, have a lot invested, want to make sure that it's going to benefit the town. And from what Chris's research has done, it seems like it is. So I just wanted to let that be known, and I do thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other town residents like to speak for input?
Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street. I'm not really opposed to it either. My comments would be more concerned with the traffic and the backup of things going on here in town. And I know tonight I came in from Jefferson Street, or Old Carolina Road, I think it's called on this side. I couldn't make a right turn behind the police department or near Cupcake Heaven. I couldn't come through up here, and I'm trying to understand what it's going to be like when we have somebody have another business going on here. And right now, the citizens can't even get in the town. The doors are locked. So it just seems like a bad idea to me. But I'm not going to be here forever. I've paid my dues. Whatever you do, the blood of the town's on your hands. I'm just thinking it's a mistake. We don't have much space out there. If we had, I never understood why we tore down a building, paid $200,000 of town money to tear it down. And Bob, I think you were on the council when that was done.
Actually, it was before my time. I just happened to be there when they tore it down.
I could have sworn you were on it. Anyway, it happened. $200,000 to tear something down when $200,000 would have fixed it, planting grass when we needed parking spaces. So I'm all for green. We paid $1.25 million for the town park property to have green. If we don't have any place to park, and we're going to have a DMV in town, and the DMV always takes up a lot of parking spaces. I've been to those places out in Luray. I've waited in those long lines. I don't think you know what you're doing. Good luck.
Thank you for your comments, Dottie. Anyone else out there wanting to speak? Okay, we'll move on then. We got minutes to approve. I think there are two of them. If we could get a motion for both.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, you got a motion and second. Any discussion before we vote? Okay, all in favor? And,
Aye.
approving? Aye. Good. So we'll move on then to the agenda items. Of course, I got all kinds of. First agenda item, we got the administrative staff retention bonuses. Does anybody have any questions, or do you need to speak, Town Manager? Okay, pretty much covered in the work session. Does anybody have any more questions? Okay, so we'll put it up for a vote. I guess roll call would be best since Joe's out.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move the Haymarket Town Council approve an appropriation to the FY 2021 year budget as designated on Resolution 2021-005.
Second.
Okay, you got a motion and second. Put it up for a vote.
Rear,
Aye.
Pater. Yes. Shannon.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Passanello.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Next agenda item, the DMV Select Office.
No update. This is what we discussed at the work session to move forward with the window, to get all the draft agreements from DMV, and to advertise an interview for the full-time deputy town clerk and DMV select clerk position.
Okay, do I have any motion? Move forward, or is this just a directive?
Just a directive.
We ask questions or no?
You want some questions?
Sure.
Feel quick.
I apologize for missing the work session on Monday due to a work conflict. I did speak with
Can you unmute?
Pam Swinford.
Sorry.
What do I need to touch? Thank you.
Unmute your Zoom so that Joe can hear
Bottom
you.
left corner of your screen if you want to use your touch screen. Okay.
Bob or Joe, can you hear me? Is that a yes? Okay.
He's smiling.
Thank you.
And he's yes.
He's smiling, there you go. Talking with Pam Swinford today, there was a concern, especially in the warmer months where she's going to get a lot of patrons. Has there been any thought to a parking plan or designated parking or anything like that, should parking become an issue?
So as we've discussed, this is between 4 and 6 cars per hour, so that will be designated to the front of the area. However, if somebody wants to park in the back, that could be an issue, but we always have more than enough parking right here at the front.
Okay.
So that's where we would continue to move forward, and if we ever move forward with a second window, then that would change, but then that's when we would probably have designated signs or something along those lines.
Okay, and then also suggestion whether there's a way, I didn't have a chance to go behind before I came to the meeting, if there's some still leftover construction materials or anything like that that could free up some parking availability, that was suggested. And again, I wouldn't call it a probationary period, but at what point this is a yearly contract in the first year, and then you can extend beyond that?
It's every
Okay.
Every year you need to renew the contract.
And so right now, if again, for the public's benefit, the initial cost to the town to implement what I would call sort of a pilot program is what again? I think we had said.
Well, it's not even going to be that much anymore. But yes, so it was between 8 and 12,000, but we were able to get it less than that, so closer to 8.
The way folks have asked me questions about it, I've said that saying as sort of a pilot project, we do have an out. If it does become a problem, if it no longer becomes viable or a benefit to the town, we have the ability to back out of that contract. And for what the money we've put up so far would be a reasonable risk. And again, the only thing I was asked to make sure we monitor the parking, and if it does become a problem, if we can address it either through designated parking or some other parking management plan. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. So Chris, maybe just to reiterate, this is by appointment only.
Correct.
So you make an appointment, whether it be a 15-minute or, well, it's 4 per hour, so it's a 15-minute window.
So what you would do is you would set up, there's a system that you can use with Outlook. So if it was like a renewal for like a tag, it would be a 10-minute appointment. So then the scheduling system kind of helps you with that. So the most it could be is if it was 6 10-minute appointments in a row, that's 6 cars in an hour. But that's probably not going to happen. You'll probably have some titling, some licensing between. So that's where you'll have some 10-minute and some 15-minute. But yes, it'll either be a 10 or 15-minute appointment.
So even if you were to calculate it at 6 cars during that 1 hour, which is probably unrealistic because the person whose appointment is at 10:50 would not show up at 10 o'clock. They cannot get into the building and they would not be served until their appointed time because that restricts those individuals coming in through the building. So the aspect of you pushing for by appointment only actually helps the parking situation.
Exactly. That's why we have maintained from the very beginning, we will always have appointment only. We will never have it where it's wide open and you have the long lines and you just have a free-for-all and people wait until 7 o'clock. We're not going to have that. We will have appointment only.
And the mere fact that you're going forward with reorganizing the office and creating the window inside the first office, which is inside the building, actually allows for the town office to be constantly open during the weekday.
Correct.
So the issue that we have of the doors being closed because of COVID would be eliminated, and then we would actually, not just because of DMV Select, but we're actually going to be serving the citizens more by venturing on with this this plan.
Correct again, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Bob, do you have a question?
Just a comment. One of those rare days when I actually agree with Dottie. I still have concerns with respect to the movement and circulation in Town Hall from this operation, and I do have some concern about the parking. And I've got some concerns about the long-term viability of it. That being said, I'm not gonna stand in the way of it. I'll support it. But I would suggest that we have a fiscal review of this project no later than December of 2021 before we have to do start working on the budget for FY23. And I do believe it does need a motion because of the expenditure of the funds to get this thing constructed.
Bob, are you suggesting December a review?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Councilman Morris, when would this start? When are we officially starting again?
Just had one quick point.
I think we're looking at a June, July start date.
So we need to get all the documentation from DMV to allow our attorney to review it, and then it come before this board for you guys to sign off on it. So it could still take a while to include finding a position. So June, July is probably the earliest we'd be able to have it.
That gives us roughly 6 months of data.
That's what I suggest. Do you just want to say date 8 months from opening, or just leave it in December?
Well, I think what Bob is talking about, why he wants it in December, is to try to get a few meetings before budget season.
Okay, makes sense. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, in a minute, I'll be more than happy to read the draft motion, but I want to state the concerns I had. First of all, I've had 17 citizens either approach me or call me who are in, want to see this, to include one of my neighbors who had a real bad experience at another DMV location. But, so, I will propose a draft motion in a minute, but I want to clarify that the concern I had from the start was the cost and where our break-even point was. I have confidence in Bob and Joe with the Finance Committee and with Roberto. When they said in our work session they had no issue, they thought it could be sustained with no problem, that's what certainly swayed me. So after the comments, I'll be more than happy to read the draft motion.
Okay, anyone else have any questions? Joe keeps floating off my screen, so I can't tell if he's raising his hand or not.
No, he's good, sir. He'll shout.
Okay, then, any motions?
Mr. Mayor, I move the Town of Haymarket Town Council instruct town staff to move forward with installation of a new service window, which is the first part, and receive draft agreements from DMV for the town attorney to review and advertise and interview for a full-time deputy town clerk, DMV select clerk.
I second, sir.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Put it up for a vote.
Weir? Aye.
Schneider? Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Morse?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Casanello?
Yes?
Okay, we'll move on to the next item, the personnel policy.
Yes, this is what I presented at the work session, and this is something that Martin has also reviewed. So we just want to move forward with just cleaning this up, and then we will have a full comprehensive review here in the coming months.
Do I have any discussion on this? Everyone's... Okay, we'll go for a vote, please. Or a motion. Need a motion?
Hang on a second. Why am I on the wrong page?
Page 16. I'm trying to pull it up off my...
I would move the Haymarket Town Council adopt the Town of Haymarket personnel policies as revised and presented.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Got a motion and a second. Put it up for vote.
Weir?
Aye.
Schneider?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Morse?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Casanello?
I didn't hear the reading of the motion because my computer kicked out. Could you read it again for me, please?
That page 16?
Yes.
Yeah, make sure you don't mute.
Oh, that would probably help, wouldn't it? Can you hear me now, Joe? I move the Town of Haymarket Town Council adopt the Town of Haymarket personnel policies as revised and presented.
If you can hear me, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, before we proceed a little further, I'd like to add an ancillary directive, not a personnel policy. But given that a lot of this has come up with respect to some paperwork things, without objection, I would direct all town staff to forward all receipts to the town clerk for dispersal to the appropriate agencies, so that there's a full accounting for all invoices, payments, and everything else, contracts. Joe's raising his
Joe's
hand.
got his hand up. What comment, Joe?
He couldn't hear me again. Can you hear me now, Joe?
Yeah.
Just moving to direct that all departments forward all invoices, receipts, contracts, et cetera, to the town clerk for dispersal to the appropriate other agencies that may need them or other departments that may need them.
Is that a policy?
Just a directive.
It's a directive.
But should it be something that we include in the policy?
I don't know that it belongs in a personnel policy. I think we should probably do that in some sort of operational thing. Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, and
I can
that's not
draft a
on the
policy.
agenda item.
I can draft a policy for the next work session if you guys would like.
I think it should be something more concrete than a directive.
I'm good with that. Direct the town manager to draft such policy without objection.
Agreed.
No, I was just going to ask two questions. Does this, I assume the staff knows what the directive means, but isn't that something we should be doing already, or is that the point?
That's the point.
Okay.
So any objections before I move on? Okay. Yeah, for the sake of trying to save time, does anyone have any questions for the liaison officers? I want to keep their reports short, so just some questions here so we can move forward.
Joe's got one.
Joe?
Yes, if you can hear me. You got it? You can hear me? Yeah, okay. We heard a couple of complaints or concerns about the stormwater management system, I think. I think I heard that pretty clearly. One of the things, I mean, this has been an issue, I think, for quite some time, and then listening to the concerns from citizens, I'm just wondering if we need to direct staff to compile some more information and talk to, I guess, whoever handles stormwater management in the county. Is that something we can do?
Before we proceed on this, since I am one of the identified citizens, do I need to step down, or should I just keep my mouth
Recuse
shut?
yourself.
Okay, I
Just
will
for
be
giggles.
recusing
If we're
myself.
going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Pater, if you could take over the meeting.
So as of right now, we have Councilman Passanello has basically moved in, hold on, let me unmute. So right now, we have Councilman Passanello has indicated that he would like us to do more investigation about the stormwater management along Jefferson. So at this point, we would just need either a second council member or just a consensus. We'll add that to the next work session.
I think, is this behind the houses? Is that, okay, absolutely, we need to do due diligence. I will tell you, I run across this in my other job, see, I mentioned it.
And you, man.
So, I mean, is it county easement back there?
No, it's not.
It's not county, it's all private property?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll do a little bit more digging, so we'll have more
Yeah, we
information.
need to
So at the work
see what we
session,
can do.
we can bring all that stuff up. We'll even, if we have to go to the county and get deeds and whatnot, we'll take care of that to just look at all that.
Absolutely.
Madam Vice Mayor.
Madam Vice Mayor, if I may add, if you could also verify where the outlets or where the outfalls are coming from. When we walked the site with the hotel engineer, one of the questions we had was there's an inlet at the back of the property, and whether or not some of their runoff was going to be captured in their underground system before being released, and if that would have any impact. So it'd be helpful to know all drains that go into that outfall, and also where it leads. I think it goes under Fayette, goes behind all the houses, down to, not Fayette, goes under Blight, down to Fayette, goes under Fayette, and then into the creek. So.
Yeah, I don't think it goes to the stormwater management by by Swirlies. It goes all the way down to the railroad tracks, correct?
That's what I meant, the
That's
creek,
where
yeah.
that's where it's
Yeah,
released.
that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, but yeah, and so that's the thing that we do definitely need to do our due diligence and see what we can do to help out. If there's issues further down, could be some county, could be some VDOT on the drainage issues. So yeah, definitely do due diligence, see what you can find there, and
Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and move forward and try and get as much information as we can, with it being less than a month to get to the work session. But I think we can get a decent amount of information regarding this.
Good.
Madam
Well-
Vice Mayor? Just to lend a little bit of historic perspective, this has been an issue for more than 20 years.
Oh, it has.
And I can remember arguing about this for hours on end in the mid-20s or mid-2000s. Chris, I would strongly suggest that you contact the stormwater folk in Prince William County and get some data from them, and I would actually prefer that they have a representative here for the work session, if they're willing to send somebody, and I'd prefer them to be live and not Zoom.
Yeah, because the drainage from that location to the stormwater management has to be able to, it was originally designed for the houses there, Bob?
It was, God, my memory's getting a little foggy, but as I recall, it was originally designed to handle some of the outflow from the property across the street.
Correct.
The church, what was at that point in time, the church school, and the property owners. And then, if I recall the argument correctly, when the town did the streetscape, or a portion of the streetscape, that increased the flow into that stormwater facility. Apparently, and I've always presumed, yeah, the culverts. I don't recall the actual engineering of it, but my understanding is that it just, in my view, overwhelms the system as designed. And I have issues with the design of the system, but I wasn't around at the time that happened, so.
Undersized pipes, you think? Feeding into the
There's
stormwater
no
management?
pipes at all. It's
No, it's just-
essentially a giant riprap and French drain, I think.
Correct. But it was built, it was a
So
lot
it's
of sheet
open.
flow. Yeah.
I need to go down and look at it, too.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we can walk it, but the challenge I'm sorry, Vice Mayor.
No, I was just going to say, photographs are, like the video would be very.
You're muted.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
the,
sorry.
I think to belabor just a little bit more, when this issue came up, when I prior did work for the town too, and the question was, you couldn't do it piecemeal. You can't put culverts in one location and, have the water come down, because it's gonna come in and
It'll fix, it's a
it'll
domino
affect, so
effect.
it has to be sort of a holistic thing, and just the cost of, the sheer cost of that, and I guess tonight it was brought up, do you levy a special tax just to, we've done this in Loudon before, where you have bridges that go to private property, and do you create some sort of tax district or a low-interest loan for the owners to be able to finance, and we share the cost, or whomever, I mean, that's how it comes out, but it was always known that it was not gonna be an easy fix. It's gonna have to be
I would add one more piece to the puzzle, and it's one that I'm not comfortable adding, but I'm going to do it because it's unfortunately the history. At one point in time, I want to say in roughly somewhere between 2010 and 2013, the town council at that point in time, and the town mayor, Mayor Stutz at the time, did make some assertions, representations, borderline promises to handle this through another developer for any number of reasons, some of which I'm not privy to. That agreement fell through, and nobody wanted to pick up the ball and carry it forward, so here we are 6, 7, 8 years later, and the problem still exists.
Okay. So Chris has the directive then, Vice Mayor?
Yep.
Okay.
Are you going to let him back up, Madam
We
Vice Mayor?
invite him back up, or should we make him sit there for a
Wait a
while?
minute, you're doing a good job.
Need
Can
him.
we put this up to a vote? Come on back, Mayor. She was about to take your seat.
Mr. Mayor, welcome back. I've got one little thing I'd like to say from our report, from the Planning Commission report, because I'm going to have to bring this up at the next Planning Commission meeting. For those unaware, there is and I'd kind of like the direction of the council on this. The county board is going to be very shortly considering what's called the Route 29 Small Area Plan. As part of the Route 29 Small Area Plan, as originally drafted by staff, They anticipate or they suggest the widening of Old Carolina Road to address among other things LOSE at the intersection of Old Carolina and 29, and an LOSE at the junction of Old Carolina and the town line. They purport that by widening it to 2 lanes, it will magically fix both of those intersections. While that might very well be true for the Old Carolina 29 circumstance, I do not believe that it will in any fashion be able to address the level of service at the town line, given that we have a bridge, a set of railroad tracks, and a 2-lane residential street. The transportation staff asserts that will somehow magically cure it. I can remember back to when they approved the UVA Foundation and the Haymarket Landing properties, that the whole purpose of punching Somerset Crossing through to Route 15 was to obviate that need for widening. There have been 2 directives from the county board, one by the prior county board and one by the current county board, to downplan that road section from 4 lanes to 2. The Planning Commission has adopted that same language, downplanning it from 4 lanes to 2. Given, and I'd love to hear if Martin has any input on this, if he's listening in the back, the planning office, in conjunction with the transportation staff, have determined that they're not going to do that in the text that they afford the Board of County Supervisors, leaving it at 4 lanes. I don't think it's in our best interest, and apparently they have been given advice by the county attorney's office that although the section of the state code regarding comp plan amendments dictates that it must be certified by the Planning Commission, and that's what goes before the county board, it is as I understand it, the county attorney's position that, well, it's been long-standing practice that the board just takes the planning office's stuff and they're just going to continue to do that, and essentially state code be damned, and I don't believe that this is in our best interest. I don't believe it's in the best interest of quite a number of people that live along Old Carver Road, whose houses, front yards, whatever, would be virtually wiped out by this. So if there's no objection, I would like to have either the town planner show up at that public hearing before the Board of County Supervisors. I will be there, with the town planner to show and give some sort of presentation at that meeting. And Martin, if you have any input between now and then, I would appreciate it.
Any questions for Bob before we, are you looking for a directive or anything?
I'm just looking for permission, and if there's no objection, I'll take care of it. Huh? I don't know that particular one has been scheduled. I think it's going to be, I'll look. Let me look.
Okay, Marshawn?
Just wanted to confirm, so the transportation plan wants to widen Carolina Road from 29 to the town boundary to 4 lanes.
Correct.
Okay. It wouldn't taper. I mean, it makes sense if it would go to all the way to Somerset Crossing, but they want to bring it figured after a year.
The plan as I've seen it is to 4-lane the entirety of it, and the areas that they have designated as LOSE are right at the town line, not at Somerset Crossing, and at the intersection of Old Carolina and the town line is where they have one section that they say is problematic from a LOS standard, and the other one being the intersection at 29 in Old Carolina. I would suggest that simply an intersection improvement there, because that intersection is absolutely horrible, would alleviate a lot of the issues, but and widening it would probably accommodate that, but I don't see any way in which putting even more traffic on on that particular segment of the road is going to in any way alleviate the level of service at the town line.
Okay, if we're on the failing side of that position, I think we want to encourage that policy be made that the transition to the town, or at least dedicate the right-of-way to make that happen. So, because, right, you see what I'm saying, that if they do 4 lanes to Somerset and there's 2 lanes beyond,
It's a bottleneck.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a bottleneck. So, again, if we're on the losing side of that, that would be my recommendation, that they amend the plan to accommodate that.
How about I get together with you offline before
Okay.
we
Thank
go
you.
down there?
Okay, any other questions?
I'll check the date.
Okay, and I guess since Emily was requested on this, if you guys have any concern, or if you want to give directive to allow her to do it, that way our money spending is okay, so to speak.
I would direct the town planner to be at that particular meeting, without objection.
Agree. No objection.
Okay. Okay, then that'll be it. Any more liaison questions before we move on? Okay. Without objection, I'd like to move the closed session before the council member time. If there aren't any objections, if I can have a motion.
I move that the council convene in closed session to discuss the following. As permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A1, a personnel matter involving assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the town, specifically dealing with the chief of police and 1 member of the town council, and, as permitted by the Virginia Code Section 2.23711A7, consultation with legal counsel or briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to probable litigation involving the Bean property, and, as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A8, consultation with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal counsel by such counsel relating to contracts and grants.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. You got a question?
Just a clarification, we got through the department reports, can we let the rest of the staff go? Other than Chris?
I think they'll need to participate in some of the stuff that we're discussing.
Oh. Roberto, can Roberto have to stay or anything?
Roberto's required.
He's required.
Oh, that's right. Okay, looking out for you, staff. Sorry about that.
Okay, I got a motion and a second for vote.
Weir?
Aye.
Gator? Yes. Morrison?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Morris? Yes. Schneider?
Yes.
Pasanello?
Yes.
Pause for closed session, and I'm going to turn your mics. Okay, you ready?
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I move that the council certify that in the closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matter or matters specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session and lawfully permitted to be discussed in closed session under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as cited in that motion.
You got a motion
Second.
and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Weir?
Aye.
Gator? Yes. Morrison?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Pasanello?
You said yes.
I think that was a yes.
Somebody has messed with this thing.
Yes, Marshawn.
All kinds of crazy.
He's nodding his head.
I'll tell on him, man. Any day, I'll tell on him.
Having that done.
Without objective, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, without objection, I would have the council direct the town attorney to proceed as directed with respect to communication with the chief of police.
No objection here. Any objection by council? No.
Mr. Mayor, I would move we continue the March 1, 2021 meeting to March 4th at 6 p.m.
Second.
Okay, you got a second. make a vote on it?
Doesn't need to be roll call.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And a thumbs up by Joe.
What time was that?
AM. 6 p.m. All right.
Okay, need a motion?
No, we
for-
don't.
To
We're
close?
continued. We're not
Continue?
adjourned.
Ah, no motion for continuance. So let's move on.
Ah.
Yep.